I'm sorry. Wow. I was holding it back as long as I could. But you slow rolled the count. So, boy, I'm hoping the editor does not include that vigorous sneeze that I just did simultaneous with the time slate clap that we do to synchronize the videos. That's just, I'm basically daring him to do that.
Excuse me.
Go ahead.
We both got a dry coffee kind of.
Make my day. Oh, Steve, are you coughing now too?
No, just you and me, Scotty.
Was that Bill or Steve who just coughed? Yeah,
that was me.
That was Bill.
This is our thing, man.
Coughing.
This is our little thing. Cosa Nostra.
No Corona.
Cosa Nostra. Wait, doesn't that mean? Never mind.
That means our thing.
Hey, this is our backstage meeting for Right Angle, where we get together and talk about what we'd like to do on this week's episodes. The members only can see this particular meeting, this pre-production staff meeting, as it were. But what do they call that in the business in Hollywood? It's like a table read. It's kind of like a table
that's right.
read.
Yeah. It's
right.
where
And
we talk about the things that we haven't talked about yet.
And I'd like to just say to our new members who may be watching for the first time, have no fear, the disappointment will fade over the months to come.
That's right.
You get used to the pain.
One can become accustomed to almost anything.
Almost anything.
Except this.
So, with all holds barred, no holds barred. That's right. This, what was it that I was upset about? I was watching CNN, and this is not a topic for this week. Oh, I just wanted to do like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 running commentary on CNN. And, you know, it essentially is all under the rubric of the unasked question. You know, it's just like, it seemed like every interview they did, even the way they asked the question, like they can't, the intonation of their voices can't mask what they really think of the situation, or they'll just throw a little extra word in there that takes the whole sentence, which could have been just a flat request for information, and turn it into a, hey, you agree with me, don't you?
Yeah.
And I just feel like
Mr. Trump, so you say that the assassination took place before you were born.
So you say. I remember also, I happened to tune in for the first time ever, and I know those of you who get most of your entertainment and information from the internet won't be surprised at this, but this is the first time I've ever seen Kayleigh McEnany doing a briefing. So she's in the White House briefing room and she's doing a briefing, and I'm watching her and I'm thinking, why does President Trump ever come to this podium? I mean,
she's awesome.
Seriously.
She's a pit bull.
She's great, but she doesn't come across as a pit bull. She's absolutely even-keeled. You know, she occasionally smiles, but usually she's just got this almost monotone presentation. And no matter what the reporter asks her, even with the color of the vitriol that is oozing through the statement of the question, she manages to not be offended by it and just go on and talk about the successes of the Trump administration or the way the Trump administration sees something, and is able to just like move on. She's unflappable. I was really impressed.
Yeah. And not one that I possess personally.
You're definitely flappable.
I am very flappable.
We're going to see if we can't flap you today.
I have frequently enjoyed flapping Bill. But anyway, so Steve, my understanding is this week that you have the privilege of being able to host 2 episodes, one of which we have no idea what it could possibly be, and then the other on a topic of your choice.
Yes. Exactly. First, I want to talk about the story that I'm not going to talk about this week. It's just something I stumbled across this morning when I was putting my daily insanity wrap together for PJ Media. Scientists did an experiment. I don't know why. Maybe they were bored on frogs eating this particular kind of Japanese beetle. And the Japanese beetle has some sort of defense mechanism where it's able to cause the frog's stomach to do things. And this Japanese beetle is capable of surviving being eaten by this frog something like 90% of the time by making its escape out the frog's rear end.
It's just the rite of passage.
All I could think was, in 2020, we are all that beetle.
Yeah, can we get some beetle juice? Can we please? Can we forget the vaccine? Can we just kind of get an elixir?
Yeah.
That is really fascinating. And of course, if you're a believer in the sort of macroevolutionary theory of life, the first 7 billion beetles who attempted this feat were all killed in the frog's stomach. But eventually, there was one that had some sort of a little DNA swap and came out the other side and said, "Hey guys, we can do this."
Now, I hate to be the guy to tell you this, but the frogs did not attempt to escape from the rear end of a toad.
The beetles.
For millions of years.
Yeah.
The beetles, yeah. There was undoubtedly a genetic mutation that gave them some kind of poison, and that guy survived.
And all the other ones had been eaten and digested by frogs, but that guy went out and got a girlfriend.
That guy went out and got a girlfriend. Now there are beetles that can get out of the rear end of toads, and those that can't. And then give them a few more 100,000 million years or so.
It's a badge of honor.
Then the ones that can't suddenly find themselves outbred, and there you go.
What worries me is I said all of us this year are the beetle, but I'm worried that some of us are actually the frog.
Yes. Well, was it Kevin Meaney or no? Who was the comedian who did that routine about the fish that goes in the boat and then we do catch and release? And so we put the fish back in the water, and he does this thing where he's talking to his buddy fish, and he's like, "Man, I was in the boat."
Wasn't Bill Engvall, was it?
I don't remember, but I just
doesn't sound like Meaney.
No, it doesn't.
Does sound like Engvall, though.
So that's not your topic, Steve. Should we go on any further about the non-topic?
It was just the kind of thing I thought that our members and members only should be privy to.
So I bring the beautiful and talented Kaylee McEnany, and you bring beetle poop.
Frog anuses, yeah.
All right. We can hardly wait for what your real topic is.
Hey, that's the one that didn't make the cut. That's the beetle that got swallowed whole and stayed there.
And digested, yes.
All right, where was I? I don't even remember my topic now. Oh, yes. Minneapolis police tell residents to obey criminals and to be prepared to be robbed.
Huh. How does one do that?
Well, you turn over whatever you got whenever they ask for it.
First, carry large quantities of cash and other valuables on your person. Next.
No, first carry small quantities of cash in your front pocket so that when you run into a criminal, you can give them $40 and then you tell them that's all you have on you and you've got your real $100 in your sock or something.
His email, Alpha News got a hold of this, and I found it on one of the big papers. It might have been the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. The police said in an email, be prepared to give up your cell phone and purse or wallet. And when it comes to criminals, do as they say.
So basically, the guidelines for this are the same as the guidelines for an interaction with a police officer. Be prepared to give up your cell phone and wallet and do as they say.
Yeah. The difference is the criminal will shoot you if you don't unlock your phone. The police, I think, will just beat you.
And, well, the police will give you your phone back, among other things.
Eventually, after they do the forensic analysis of it. I prefer Steve Martin's way of addressing a mugging, which is first throw up on all your money.
Oh, yes.
Well, that's pretty depressing. That's great. I'm wondering if the Minneapolis Police Department is I don't mean issuing a tongue-in-cheek, but issuing it as like saying, well, you don't want a police department, so here's the advice.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I wanted to dig deeper into this thing, and I tried, but I couldn't find a copy of the entire email. So I'm going to keep looking for that when we're in between segments here and see if I can't add a little more clarity to what's going on here. But
I'm not so sure,
it occurs
Steve,
to me, too, that, yeah.
I was going to say, I'm not so sure it's so different from what the police's normal advice is. For example, if you're a clerk at a convenience store and somebody asks for the money, give them the money.
Give them the money.
Yeah,
Yes.
and if you're being mugged and you don't have the drop on the guy, and he asks for your money, your watch, give him anything he wants, because parting with your goods is better than being shot through the spleen.
What occurs to me
Unless you're
is
Jack Benny, in which case you need some time to think it over.
That's right.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, that is the standard advice. You don't want to get shot for guarding somebody else's cash register. Your iPhone is not worth your life or anything like that. So it's standard operating procedure. But I don't know if you've seen this, but armed citizens patrols, or whatever they're calling themselves, have started patrolling Minneapolis in the absence of the police. Yeah. And this may be the police's way of telling citizens to stand down and don't become vigilante mobs. But the vigilante mobs are forming because the police have been demoralized by the city council, which has also promised to completely replace them with some kind of social working team.
And we
Here's
did
your socialism.
We did an episode a while back about how a very large number on a police force of some 850 people, something like 200 of them have already are asking to be retired. So because of symptoms of PTSD in the wake of the shooting of George Floyd and the abuse they've taken in the streets.
You don't have to defund the police. All you have to do is demoralize them.
Yeah.
I think they should just go home. Well, we've covered this before.
Yeah.
But I think this business about the police issuing that order is
I thought that made it that in itself was newsworthy. And I've got a bunch of numbers on what crime's been doing in Minneapolis. And I think this is the police's way of just reminding people, lay back and enjoy the inevitable, I suppose.
Yeah, and I'm still puzzling over whether that's any different than they would normally say, or is the media just now picking up on this announcement because it sounds like it's something that says, "Hey, you're on your own." What's the old statement, Bill, that the gun nuts use? When seconds count, the police are just minutes away.
Police are only minutes away. Yeah, that's right.
And we'll look back on those days fondly very soon.
Well, I say to the people of Minneapolis, you made those cheese curds, now you got to eat them. That's what I would say to them.
Ooh, tainted cheese curds.
Who did that song, Tainted Cheese? No,
it was Soft Cell.
It was Soft Cell.
A soft rind, excuse me.
Rind. There's a great word. Okay, so that's your. I should write this down, shouldn't I? I should care.
Oh yeah.
So hang on. So that was the green episode. The evergreen episode was Minneapolis. This life, as Prince would say, you're on your own.
Oh, good. Working the Prince reference into a Minneapolis story. I love it.
That was a long drive out in the country to find out nobody was home, as Letterman used to say. Okay, so that's
it made me happy, and that's what counts.
Yes, that's all I care about. So that's one of your shows this week. What other individual, single, solitary topic have you chosen for your other episode?
Well, this is what's going to blow your mind. My single, solitary topic has actually been split into 5 headlines.
Go figure.
Yeah. It's a lightning round.
Okay. How do you spell lightning? Lightning.
Lightning.
I've actually seen that spelled with an E-N-I-N-G.
A member wrote in saying I'd gotten the Roman numerals wrong. I'd like the same number twice or 3 times or something. Yeah. And my response wasn't, but kind of wanted to be, what difference does it make, honestly? It's a thumbnail. I was,
Yeah, it was. We did 2 27s. So for those of you who are keeping track at home, or I'm sorry, forgive me, we did 2 XXVIIs.
Saw a guy talking about artificial gravity and referring to Space Station 5 in 2001 as Space Station V.
No.
Yeah, Space Station V.
Although who knows what NASA would have said if that were the case? Because I mean, they're the only people in the world who ever said Gemini.
Gemini, I like that.
Yeah.
Did anybody say Mercury?
It was,
Do you say
Mercury? It was the Gemini program.
I like Mercury. Okay.
Mercury.
So Bill, would you like me to go next, or are you so eager?
No, I don't want you. Don't want you to bogart my top.
And stamping at the bit that you would like to go first. Go ahead.
Well, you all remember those polls that show that Joe Biden was up by 9,000 points over Donald Trump.
He was living in swing states that hadn't even been admitted to the union.
Yeah, that's right. Rasmussen came out with a poll just a few days ago. This is 1,500 likely voters. Error bars are plus or minus 3%. Total approval rating at this point in his career, 3rd of August 2012, Barack Obama, 44%. August 3rd, 2020, Donald Trump, 51%. That's more.
30.
Math is racist.
It's now,
44 for Obama, 51 for Trump at this point in their presidencies.
What I thought was interesting about this poll, and by the way, there's still a deluge of poll stories about, in fact, I saw one this morning that said, is it too late for Trump to make a comeback because the election doesn't really happen on a given day. It happens over a period of time, and those early votes will start to come pouring in soon. So is it too late for him to catch up? But what I thought was interesting about the Rasmussen poll is in the lead of the story, it said the phrase that you never see in the other ones, which is likely voters, not registered voters.
That's right. And I want to tie this into another story that I stole from Instamapundit. Basically the guy was saying that it's showing that Trump's approval rating among black voters is something like, it's in excess of 40%. And the writer of the article said Trump got 12% or something in 2016. There's no way he's going to get 40%, but he might get 15%.
Yeah, it was like he got the Democrats 8%. In danger. What if he gets 10 or 12?
Yeah, I think he's going to get 40%.
A thing we were talking about last week on a video chat I was doing with Stephen Cruiser and Brian Preston from PJ is Biden has always gotten the police union's endorsement.
Not this year.
That's his bread and butter. Not only have they endorsed Trump, but Biden's pretty much gone full defund the police, and he's gone there in everything but name. And there's not a police officer, and I think there's something like 700,000 police officers in the country, and probably double that number who are retired police officers. Not a one of them is going to vote for Biden.
And they'll be out there.
Yeah, what was Trump's margin of Trump's margin of victory in 2016 was 70,000 votes strategically placed would have done it, right?
Yeah.
Well, maybe people don't like riots and stuff and their cities burning. Maybe the Democrats will be shocked. I said shocked on the morning of the first Wednesday in November to realize that the American people didn't think the idea of defunding the police and burning cities to the ground was a swell idea.
The New York Times had a story about the police commissioner or chief or whatever he's called of New York City and how he has pushed back on things that Mayor Bill de Blasio has said, even though he was a de Blasio supporter, but that he's been pretty harsh about this whole idea of defunding the police and pulling them back from areas where enforcement is needed and stuff like that. And the thrust of the story was, why hasn't this guy been fired? And I thought, de Blasio, you genius. You stand up in public and talk about how we really need to, roll back policing and all that kind of stuff and give these people a break in their neighborhoods. But at the same time, you've got, I think they said there were like 3 Irish guys who essentially run the New York City police force, and you're letting them carry on business as usual. So you're getting the best of both worlds.
It's the same 3 Irish guys who've been running the New York PD since 1932.
And New York just recently surpassed its 2019 total murder number, and we are at the very beginning of the third quarter of the year. So they're gonna smash that record.
Wow.
Won't be a record compared to other Democratic years, but compared to what you got it down to when Republicans were governing, it's going to be a bad year for New York.
I know this is far off your topic, but it made me think. Yesterday, I believe it was, as we record this, we marked the 1 year since the El Paso Walmart shooting, where the shooter killed some 23 people, I believe it was. And while they were talking about this story, they had a moment of silence. Walmart closed the store for a while, and there was a memorial that people could come past, and the people in the community were kind of coming together to recognize this moment. it occurred to me that the story that we've heard for the last several years was the nonstop mass shooting story. It was constantly in the news, and the protests among people from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas' school and other places where shootings have occurred. And I thought, wow, I haven't really heard anything like that. I mean, maybe there's a story I missed, but has a side effect of the business shutdown been the reduction in these mass shooting scenarios?
If I had to guess, I would have said in advance that I thought it would have gone up dramatically. But you're right; I haven't heard of anything in a while now.
Yeah, John Lott just published a thing for Real Clear Politics yesterday, I think, talking about myths of the gun control movement, and one of them was this idea that the United States has something like a third of all the mass shootings in the world, even though we're only 5% of the population. And that meme is based on one study that was found to be deeply flawed, apparently retracted by its author or forced into disgrace or something like that. He completely overcounted the American statistics, left out thousands of reports from around the world. France, as it turns out, has more mass shootings than the United States does. And I don't remember if that was per capita or total, but totally blew the narrative out of the water. I'll have to pull that up and get those numbers.
I see what you did there, and our viewers, I'm sure, are on to you, Stephen Green, bringing it back around to frog anuses from the beginning.
Same story every week.
Every week.
So is that what you're doing, Scott?
No. What? No. I'm sorry. I was just following the winding stream of consciousness off of your topic, which initially was how the actual polling numbers from Rasmussen and Trump support among Black Americans. By the way, have you seen the Uncle Tom movie or the trailer for it?
I haven't seen it.
So
I heard it was very good.
I think you can now go to like UncleTom.com. I think Larry, what's his name? Larry Elder had a part in producing this. And, you know, there are all kinds of famous people, Candace Owens and Kanye's in it, or at least he's been interviewed in it. But it was in the trailer. They're like half of the Black people who are talking on camera in the trailer are wearing Make America Great Again hats. So very intentional campaign boost there for that with that movie. So here's my topic, actually. Because schools, some schools are going to all online learning, and beyond those school districts, some parents are really concerned about having their children in these mass public school settings. Some parents are starting to pool their cash to do periodic learning pods, they call them. Why they had to come up with a funky name like that, that term should have already been disgraced by the term podcasting. But anyway, they had to come up with these learning pods where basically the parents pass the hat and hire a teacher and periodically get together with a small group of students to enhance their learning experience, because they're really concerned that their kids aren't going to learn well just, essentially watching lectures on video or watching teachers try to wrangle a class of 25 kids in little boxes like the Brady Bunch on a screen. However, there's a problem with this, and the problem is, of course, that not everybody can afford to do it. So it's a luxury, and it's showing in a very conscious way the idea of white privilege is that, and it's not just white people, obviously, but that's what the target is, that this is discriminatory because it is wealthy people doing something to advance their kids' education that not everyone can do. And this is the moral quandary that we face in 2020.
Well,
there is no moral quandary. The entire idea of public schools was to be the great equalizer. And if they want to make those schools so miserable that you have to step in and pay twice, then maybe you ought to improve the public schools, you morons.
Yeah. My son's high school will be a 2-day-a-week affair, so they can split the school essentially in half. Half the kids, the exact same group, will go on Mondays and Wednesdays, and the other half will go on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and there's no school on Fridays. So all I want back is 60% of my taxes that were going to the school.
And by the way, Scott, if people do this and they start to see the inevitable result, which will be that they learn more from their private tutor in the 1 hour than they do during the 12 hours or 15 of the week, then you wonder how many of them will take that to its logical conclusion and say, maybe if we paid 3 hours for a tutor, we might get more education than we would get 40 hours for free.
Well, that's the fear, and that means that those parents would then pull their kids out of the public school system, and that can do nothing but harm the poor people who can't afford it. I saw a guy at
No. You haven't been paying attention to the narrative.
Okay.
Homeschool children are horribly disadvantaged in every way. They're not educated correctly, and they have no social interaction. No, this is white people pulling their kids out of, or wealthy people pulling their kids out of public schools to the detriment of their own children. You see, you can't have it both ways. How can it be a white? How can it be a white privilege or a privilege of economic advantage to pull your kids out of public schools? Unless public schools suck.
Yeah.
It would be a disadvantage to pull your children out of the world's greatest educational system.
Well, and even Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, who, Stephen, remind me, party affiliation is?
Republican,
said that it's a luxury and ultimately not a solution. And I think that was just part of DeSantis's objective of getting everybody back to school. So he's basically saying, this is not an option everybody has, and therefore we really ought to get these kids back in the classroom. I saw a kid at the store where I work in my other full-time job earlier this week, and I'm paraphrasing now because it was one of those T-shirts that really isn't a T-shirt. It's more like a screed, but fortunately he had a big enough belly that most of it fit on him. So it said something along the lines of, "You think this is bad? Wait 20 years until all of our leaders have been homeschooled." And it was all I could.
I am waiting.
It was all I could do to not turn around and chase him down and say, "Hey, you might want to, in your public school textbook, you might want to find out where our nation's founders and all the great people in our nation's history got their education before like the late 1800s, early 1900s."
And then ask him what year World War II ended, or
World War II is over?
Was on what side?
Yeah. So anyway, I think this is a fascinating thing that, first of all, the idea of what a Heritage Foundation person in their kind of educational think tank wing said, this is civil society in action, where people see a problem and they respond and they say, okay, let's figure out a way. Somebody started a Facebook page for Pod Learning and like immediately got 30,000 followers on his Facebook page, just firing it up. And there's at least one woman who said, hey, we'll have a small group of our neighborhood kids here in my home. We're gonna live cam that to the web. So if you want your kids to sit in and watch this, you'll be able to, if you're afraid about sending your kids to some strange place or whatever, you can actually see them doing their homeschool lessons, and it will be out there in the open. And with the second benefit of the parents who do send their kids will be able to see at all times that their kids are being treated well,
Alrighty then.
Not abused or molested or anything like that. So, pod learning for pod people.
Pod learning.
That's right. It sounds like ant music for, never mind. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an extraordinarily short episode of Backstage for Right Angle. But if you take the average of last week and this week, I think it's adequate. What's the cup say this time? What's the cup, Steve?
And that is, by the way, that is our on our mission statement.
That's right.
We strive for adequacy.
To provide content that will occasionally rise to the level of adequate.
We aspire.
Yes, we aspire to adequate.
On average, we're nearly good.
Adequate's not just our mission statement, it's who we are. Ladies and gentlemen, we are grateful.
Aim for adequate and settle for subpar.
That's right. Keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the Well, not the stars, but
No.
we are grateful for your support at BillWhittle.com. And frankly, the burgeoning number of authors on the member blog at BillWhittle.com. I think it is actually getting to be such a diverse group there that I think I saw a blog post this week from Bill Whittle. So things are getting really out of control. Normally, we try to restrain him from being able to do that because we want this to be a highly readable and interesting blog. But he was able to leap in.
He must have gotten flapped about something.
He did. He burst free of his restraints.
Yes, he actually was just congratulating my lovely bride and I on our 27th anniversary. So.
Oh, congratulations. Melissa and I just had our 18th yesterday.
18? Oh, that's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. 27? Jeez, I feel like a piker at this.
I'll tell you what, if Melissa is nothing if not a survivor, is the way I see that. Kind of like Stephanie.
Zeus said, release the Kraken. And the next thing you know, a blog post for me appeared on BillWhittle.com.
By the way, I did proofread it and make a few minor adjustments.
What did I get wrong? Everything?
You added 10 years to my marriage, which was nice. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, I said 37?
Yes, and you spelled it out, which I thought was charming.
Apropos of absolutely nothing, except you said release the Kraken.
Yes.
There's finally some good news out of Seattle. They're getting an NHL expansion team, and they're naming it the Kraken.
Really?
Really? Is that not epically great news for hockey?
That's awesome.
Love it.
Who's going to go when the rink is on fire?
Will they do like a maneuver in warm-ups, cracking the whip?
Well played.
I think I peaked at the Prince reference. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for
It was 20 minutes ago.
For staying with us through these 32 minutes and 9 seconds. For Steve Green and Bill Whittle, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks for your support.